All right, Cognos for Microsoft Office, an easy way to be a productivity hero in your organization. Steve wants to use his brain. A dramatic and regular tale told in an office near you. The events depicted are not real, nor are the actors. However, the conclusion is logical.
This is Steve. He is a highly paid financial analyst. As a highly paid financial analyst, Steve would like to use his brain. However, Steve spends numerous hours each month copying, pasting and formatting Excel to fit into PowerPoint presentations. This makes Steve sad, and dissatisfied with his job and career prospects. What if there was a way for Steve to create once, and just update the data without having to spend precious hours each month finagling with redundant, and time-consuming tasks? Steve, there is. You can use Cognos for Microsoft Office to import charts and spreadsheets, right into your PowerPoints, Word documents, and if need be Excel.
Thank you, announcer lady. Now my days have meaning again, and I have time to use my brain, which means that I didn't waste thousands of dollars on a fancy degree.
So over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to talk about two different products, one of them being Cognos for Microsoft Office, and then the other one being Cognos Analysis for Excel. Both work with the same user interface, but they are two different products with two different installations. Then we're going to talk about system requirements, really quickly talk about installation features. We're not really going to go into the installation today. And then we're going to wrap up with a demo and 5 minutes worth of questions. So A Tale of Two Products. Like Charles Dickens's famous novel, our story has two different products, but with similar user interfaces. In addition for Cognos for Microsoft Office, there's an additional analysis program for Excel called Cognos Analysis for Excel, or for short, we call it CAFE. Although these are two separate programs with two separate installations, they use the exact same user interface in Excel, as you'll see later on in our demonstration. Also, I want to quickly note that for our version 8 users, Cognos with Microsoft Office is called GoOffice. They are the exact same application. So, how are these two different? And when should they be used and by who should they be used? And more importantly, how are they going to enhance Steve's work life? So let's start by talking about Cognos for Microsoft Office, or for our version 8 users, GoOffice. So Cognos for Microsoft Office allows you and your end users to import and manipulate previously created objects in the Cognos BI Studios. So objects created in Report Studio, Query Studio, Analysis Studio, or in Workspace Advanced. You can also import objects that have been placed onto a dashboard, as we'll see later on, all while maintaining the same security structure that is applied to your Cognos packages. So once you've imported objects like charts and graphs, you can refresh the data to the most current and pertinent data. This is extremely useful for those of us who have to update standard monthly reports, strategic presentations, or the ever-changing forecast data. So in addition to updating at a click of a button, end users can manipulate and format using common Microsoft functions. Once the document, presentation, or Excel file has been created to your liking, you can then publish it back to Cognos Connection, either into your personal folder for later use, or into a public folder for collaboration and use with your colleagues. Do note that the data that is shared in that document is subject to that user's authentication rights. So it's kind of a no-brainer, but this is good for anybody who has to get an object out of Cognos and put it into a Microsoft application. Also, additionally, IT and managers like this because the added value of the data already being conformed, already previously defined, and it comes from a single data source of one truth. That way, when you're bringing these presentations or these documents to meetings, you're not arguing over who has the same numbers because they're in Cognos, and that should probably have been established way back when. But instead, you're focusing on the numbers, you're focusing on the data, you're making decisions, and you're moving forward. So CAFE, or Cognos Analysis for Excel, is where you can analyze data or create reports in Excel using Framework Manager packages. But you can use TM1 package data, you can use your data warehouse package data, any data that it has been secured and given them privileges to, they can open up into Excel and then play with. So like Analysis Studio and Cognos Connection, you can drop and drag items into a crosstab, slice and dice the data as you see fit, drill up and down through dimensional hierarchies, but now you can use it in a familiar environment, and now you can apply calculations and format using Excel functions. Your heavy Excel users, or I hate to say it, even your old Essbase users, are going to love the freedom and flexibility of using Cognos data, but in an application that they understand and are familiar with. You and your IT and management teams are going to love the fact that it's secure and that there's continuity between the data. Just like Cognos for Microsoft Office, spreadsheets can be published back and shared with colleagues for further analysis or use, and the data privileges will be applied to shared data. Cognos for Microsoft Office works with the following operating systems and Office products. At this time, it does not work with Windows 8 or Microsoft Office 2013. And for once, when IBM told us that this is an easy installation, it's actually a true statement. As pointed out previously, it is 2 separate installations. However, you only have to configure once using the same URL, since they do share a user interface. We are not going to go into the specifics of installation today, but I just wanted to point out, as of 10.1.1, you now have the ability to install a 64-bit version. And then if you're upgrading or if you're purchasing 10.2, you need to install the additional Microsoft Net Framework 4 in addition to Framework 2. Super easy. Once you put the disk in, literally it's a disk installation. It's very cool. You run through the wizard and it says install, you say yes, and you're good to go. If you or your team needs any help installing or configuring Microsoft Office, literally we can help you in a virtual meeting. Usually takes about an hour or 2. And then we also offer in-depth training either on-site or virtually for this product and all the Cognos business intelligent applications. So here is our critically important PowerPoint that we want to incorporate some of our Cognos report objects into. So back in the old day when we would do this, what we would have to do is we'd have to export our Cognos document to Excel, finagle it, format it, copy and paste it into our document. And oh my gosh, heaven forbid if those numbers change, because then we'd have to go through the whole entire thing again. So what's really cool about this though is we pick our page and we come up to IBM Cognos. So once you install it, it's going to add it onto the ribbon. And we click on the IBM Cognos button. And then over here on the right hand side, you see that a pane opened up. This is the welcome pane. We just click on it, and now we are connected to our URL. And since I didn't log in before, it's automatically going to have me authenticate myself. If I knew my own password. And now we have access to everything that I have access to. So you can see here's our public folders and here's my folders. If we went down through our models, we can see that there is actually some Office samples here. You can tell that we can import objects straight from a dashboard. We can import them from Report Studio, Query Studio, and again, if there was some already made here, Analysis Studio, Workspace Advanced, and so on. So what I want to do is I want to bring in a table from my folder that I created and saved. And it's in this Report Studio report. I click Import Content. Okay, so now it's asking us, do we want to place the objects right here in this page? Do we want to create a new page? We're going to go ahead and just paste them right here into the current page. And then it's asking us, out of this report, which objects do we want? So in this report, I can see that we have some sort of combination chart and we have a crosstab. I only want to bring in my crosstab. So I'm just going to select my crosstab. I do recommend that when bringing in multiple objects that you bring them in one at a time. If I would select both of those at the same time, it brings it in as one object, which means that I wouldn't be able to separate them out and manipulate them separately or put them on separate pages. So bring your objects in one at a time. So I got my crosstabs selected. I click Next and Finish. There's my crosstab, and now I can drag it to where I want it in my PowerPoint. I can then also manipulate it. So if I wanted to change the size of the font, if I want to make it bold, you can also then change the design to anything that you want. However, let's say I wanted to add a percent difference calculation to this. I would have to go back over to my Report Studio report and add the calculation. Make sure I hit Save. Now go back to my PowerPoint and to my IBM Cognos ribbon and say Refresh All Data. I only want to refresh the data because I don't want to lose any of my formatting that I've applied, and click Yes. And voila, there's our new column. Let's say on my next page I wanted to add that chart. So once again, I go back, I highlight the report, click Import, and this time bring in my chart. Notice that charts come in as pictures, so you cannot manipulate it within the PowerPoint. So let's say if I decided I didn't like those colors or the axes, I would have to go then back to my Report Studio report or the studio which I created the object in and make my changes. So let's say I wanted to change my palette. Make sure I hit Save again. Click Refresh All Data. I only want to refresh my data. Okay, so let's say I do not, even if the data changes, I only want to take a snapshot in time of this data, and whoever comes in and accesses this report, I don't want them to be able to do it. You can convert it to a static report. It's going to ask you, are you absolutely sure you want to do this? And then you can say yes. And now if you refresh the data or even the formatting, nothing's going to happen. So let's say that I now want to share this with my colleagues and we want to collaborate further on it. What I can then do is I can publish it back to Cognos Connection. Let's say I put in my folders. We're going to just save right over this one. Click Publish. Yes, I know it exists. Thank you. Now if I go out to my Cognos Connection and I'm in my folders, you can see right here is our PowerPoint, and we can click on it, tell it to open up, and there it is. So once again though, if I would have saved this out into a public folder for one of my associates or colleagues to also work on it, and they had different data privileges than I do, they would only be able to see the data that they actually have privileges to view. So keep that in mind, that when you're collaborating with people. So you can also do this exact same thing in a Word document. Let's see, let's go out and get our Word document. The IBM window is already open. If it wasn't, we could simply just go up to the IBM Cognos toolbar here. It's going to authenticate me because it's the first time I'm in here. And let's just go use those exact same objects. So let's say I wanted to place an object here. Exact same thing as in the PowerPoint. Same refreshing, same publishing, but now we're doing it in a Word document. Well, let's just say I wanted to put it there. There we go. Very simple. We can also import objects into Excel. Go to our IBM Cognos ribbon, open it up, and the same pane opens. Now this time you notice I have IBM Cognos from Microsoft Office, and then I also have IBM Cognos Analysis. So as I was explaining before in the presentation, that even though these are two separate installations and two separate applications, they reside together in the same user interface. So we're still working with IBM Cognos from Microsoft Office. This time if I just hit import, I'm going to import both objects at once. So the cool thing about working in Excel is that you get all that Excel functionality. So if I wanted to cut this and I want to bring it over here, I can manipulate it all the same ways that you can manipulate data you bring into Excel. You can just add formulas. Now if we wanted to format the data, let's say we didn't want all those decimal places. This time, if I refresh my data, and we say let's refresh formatting too, it'll bring back my decimals. So next we're going to take a look at Cognos Analysis for Excel. Okay, let's start with a clean sheet, and then we're going to come back to our welcome page, and we're going to click this time on IBM Cognos Analysis. Opens up in the exact same pane. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to select the package of data we want to work with. So no longer are we working with previously created objects, we are going to work with the raw data in the packages. As you can see, it's very secure. Okay, so let's see, what package? So you can create lists with it and use relational data. However, we're going to demonstrate using dimensional data so you can see the drill up and drill down features and the slicing and dicing. So we're going to pick Go Data Warehouse Analysis. So we can see in here if we expand one of our folders, let's expand our sales folder. All right. So now we have all our hierarchies and their members and our sales facts. And so the first thing we need to do is we need to create a new exploration. And this brings in a crosstab. So now we can start just adding members. So if we wanted to start with revenue as our measure, and we want to look at order method, and let's pick a time dimension. Let's just do time. So now we have revenue by order method for all the time periods in our package. So there's a couple cool things we can do here. Let's say that we wanted to separate this out. We can insert this guy, insert a space there. If we wanted to do a calculation, we could highlight 2006, 2007. And let's say we want to have the change percent again between those two. We can also add calculations off our data. So if we want to say, so let's say, how about all of time minus the year? And just like before, you could add your Excel functionality to it. And drag over that calculation. We can add formatting. And we can also slice and dice our information. So let's say that we wanted to see this by organization, and we want by Go Americas. Now, since this is connected directly to our data source, we can drill up and down. So if you right click, you get the right click menu, and at the top we have the IBM Cognos Analysis menu. And let's drill down. And now we have all the quarters. Let's see, is there another level? We could drill down again into each month of that quarter. And you can drill back up. We could also, if we wanted to reorder these, reorder. So if I'm used to seeing faxes down at the bottom, click OK. Also, just like before, we can publish this back to be reused. Just go to our IBM Cognos button, click Publish, save it where you want to save it. Extremely simple, just like before. So instead, this time, we added a new exploration. We added our elements. Unfortunately, you can't cut and paste this somewhere else because each cell is connected to the data itself. So unfortunately, if I cut and try to say, oh no, I really want this here, you can do it, but if you try to update your data, it's not going to understand. It's going to bring it right back to where it was. So that's our demonstration. So now you've seen IBM Cognos for analysis, and you've also seen how IBM Cognos for Microsoft Office works. If you have any questions, please let me know.